Let me take you back to the summer of 1994. This is the story behind the shocking case of O.J. Simpson.
You open your eyes in a strange room, the walls lined with dark wood, dim light spilling from a bedside lamp like something peeled from an old film reel. Outside the window, it's Los Angeles in 1994, not because there's a calendar or traffic noise, but because the voice on the television hums through the air, O.J. Simpson, primary suspect. You're not sure if this is a dream or some forgotten reel of memory, but you slowly walk toward the screen. And that's where the story begins. On the night of June 12th, there were no screams, no sirens, just an eerie stillness hanging over wealthy Brentwood. Nicole Brown Simpson, O.J.'s ex-wife, had just returned from a family dinner, still holding her sunglasses. Around 10:15 p.m., a neighbor found her Akita dog wandering the yard, its fur stained with blood. That was the first sign that something was deeply wrong. You step into the narrow path beside her home. There, two bodies, Nicole and a man named Ron Goldman, lie motionless. No gunshots, just dozens of stab wounds and something that feels personal, furious, jealous, but also too clean, too swift, almost professional. Investigators still disagree whether this was a crime of passion or something far more calculated, hiding in the shadows. The first strange detail? A single dark leather glove, bloody, found in the bushes. Just one, no pair. And this glove would later become a symbol of the entire trial, a symbol for you can't convict if the evidence doesn't fit. You don't need to study criminal law to sense the absurdity creeping in. At O.J.'s house, just miles away, police found the matching glove, drops of unfamiliar blood near the front door, and faint stains inside his white Ford Bronco. You'd think that's more than enough for an arrest. But no, this case isn't that simple, because this is O.J. Simpson. You step into O.J.'s living room, where he lies on the sofa, seemingly unaware of what's happened. On the wall, framed memories of glory, NFL stardom, endorsement deals, the public image of a perfect husband. But behind those frames, Nicole had once filed reports of abuse, harassment, complaints that were later withdrawn. Bruises were hidden. The whispers never made it to court. One little-known fact? In a diary held by a friend, Nicole had once written, "If anything happens to me, O.J. did it." But the diary never made it into criminal court. It was dismissed as hearsay, like hearing a knock at the door at midnight, but never being able to prove who knocked. On June 13th, O.J. became an official suspect. But you won't see handcuffs or a dramatic takedown. Instead, on June 17th, one of the most surreal images in TV history unfolds. O.J. rides in a white Ford Bronco, driven by his friend Al Cowlings, holding a gun, refusing to surrender. You're in the car with them, 60 police cars in pursuit. Above, a sky filled with news helicopters. 95 million Americans glued to their screens, watching a slow-motion chase at sunset. No explosions, no shootouts, just a crawl down the freeway, every heartbeat louder than the next. Inside the Bronco, O.J. whispers goodbye to his mother over the phone, says he's carrying photos of his children and a gun, but not for murder. You don't know if he's telling the truth or playing the final role of his life. And then, like a scene from a strange play, the car returns to his home. He surrenders quietly. No resistance, no violence, just a sports icon being led away in silence. And you wonder, if he were just an ordinary man, not famous, not wealthy, would any of this have gone differently? In the days that followed, Los Angeles felt frozen under a curtain that refused to fall. Reporters camped outside Nicole's house. News anchors dissected O.J.'s every expression, every word from his friends. One radio host who casually said he seems innocent faced such a backlash she had to resign. Somewhere in that haze, another oddity emerged. O.J. had a cut on his finger that night. He claimed it happened while reaching for a phone. That's like saying a mosquito bite left a gash to the bone. And the blood in the Bronco, in his bedroom, on the white socks near the laundry machine? All tested. And one DNA sample, new technology at the time, would become the first scientific proof ever brought into a courtroom, not just a detective show plot twist. You lean back in your chair, eyes fixed on the flickering screen. Outside, the world splits. Some say O.J. is guilty. Some say he's a victim of systemic racism. But tonight, you're just the listener, wrapped in a story that began with a glove that didn't fit and a doubt that never quite faded.
You're behind the wheel of a white vehicle. Not your own, not a dream, but everything about it feels unsettlingly real. The Ford Bronco glides slowly along the highway. Headlights from behind stretching like rows of watching eyes. There are no sirens, just a heartbeat and questions no one has dared to say out loud. The chase lasted over 90 minutes. No crashes, no gunfire. Everyone waited. The entire country waited to see if the man inside would end his life, as rumors had whispered. But O.J. didn't. He stepped out of the car, hands empty, head bowed. Every camera held its breath. No blood, no drama. Just a quiet ending to a chaotic opening act. The next day, you follow attorney Robert Shapiro into a press room. His face reveals nothing certain, but you can feel the tension in every breath he takes. O.J. is formally charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, and now you know you're not walking away from this story so easily. The trial begins on January 24, 1995. The courtroom in Los Angeles holds not only lawyers, jurors, and a judge, but millions of invisible eyes watching from every corner. You sit at the back, unseen, but you feel the heat of the cameras. The jury is carefully selected, mostly black, mostly women, and every decision from here on will be dissected like a bloodstain on white carpet. Prosecutor Marsha Clark presents the case like a law school lecture. DNA evidence, shoe prints, blood traces, O.J.'s inconsistent behavior. Every puzzle piece fits like an invisible hand had placed them just so. But the defense team, led by Johnny Cochran, has another strategy: attack the system. They argue that the evidence might have been planted, that the police were racially biased, and Officer Mark Furman, the one who found the glove at O.J.'s house, became their primary target. One strange detail. An old tape surfaces of Furman using racial slurs, describing how he had once planted evidence. The jury listens. The courtroom freezes. Trust in the justice system cracks, not because of the crime, but because of a voice from the past. Then, the glove. In court, the prosecution hands O.J. the bloody glove to try on. You're close enough to see his hands tremble. He struggles, grimaces, mumbles. The glove doesn't fit. That moment, like something sliced from a courtroom drama, plays out in silence. Johnny Cochran steps up and delivers a line that will echo for years. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. A glove becomes gospel. Here's the problem. Who tries on leather gloves soaked in blood, possibly shrunk from moisture, over latex gloves? But for the jury, that was enough. You don't need to be a forensic expert to understand the power of theater. Between court sessions, you overhear bizarre happenings. A juror removed for clapping in court, another dismissed due to stress-induced paranoia. This isn't a trial, it's a performance, and everyone is an actor, willing or not. O.J. maintains a calm facade, signing footballs, waving at crowds, occasionally flashing a smile like he's still on television. But you look deeper into his eyes, and you see something else. Fear. Something deeply human. Another strange detail. A neighbor testified to seeing a large, dark figure fleeing the scene around 10:40 p.m., but under cross-examination, he couldn't be sure. He'd been drinking. So the testimony fades, like so many other fragments, plausible but unprovable. And then comes the looming question. Why did O.J. stay silent? He had the right, but silence in a world screaming for answers begins to echo louder than a confession. One night, during a trial recess, you walk past Nicole's father's home. A candle burns outside, all night, unwavering. He doesn't speak, just stares at her photo, then turns away. Some pain doesn't need explanation. By late September, you're sitting silently in the courtroom, every seat taken. No one blinks, no one moves, because everyone knows the moment of reckoning is near. A few days earlier, Cochran offered his closing argument, a sentence that haunts the walls. If you want justice, don't just look at the glove. Look at the system. Look at history. Look at the truths buried beneath power and prejudice. You exhale slowly, like you've been holding your breath for too long. The ending is near. But before you get there, you'll have to hear a verdict. Not just for the victims or the accused, but for an entire nation.
You're sitting in the courtroom that day, surrounded by a sea of breathless people. Every breath feels like it needs permission. Millions watch from living rooms, diners, hospitals, dorms, white, black, Latinx, Asian, every race, every class. A single moment that the entire country seems to share. All waiting. October 3rd, 1995. You hear the soft buzz of the microphone as the jury files in. It took them just 4 hours to reach a verdict after 9 months of trial. A suspiciously short time. Too brief to feel like justice, too long to be dismissed as mercy. The foreperson stands, hands trembling. The first sentence breaks the silence. We, the jury, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty. You didn't mishear. And even if you had, the gasping sobs from O.J., the anguished cries from Ron Goldman's father, and the shattered expression on Marcia Clark's face would have confirmed it. No one in the room remains composed. Some weep in joy, others cry in despair. You feel the floor shift beneath your feet. A verdict has been delivered, not just to one man, but to an entire nation. In that moment, you recall Nicole's eyes from the photo above the fireplace, their memory forgotten beneath lawyers' voices, cross-examinations, and media noise. And you begin to understand. The greatest loss isn't always found in the evidence. It's in what we refuse to see. Here's another strange detail. After being acquitted, O.J. didn't go home. He went to the cemetery, visited Nicole's grave. A witness said he stood there for a long time, silent. No one knows if it was remorse or a final farewell. A small, quiet fact, never reported widely, but one that lingers in your mind like a bruise. Months later, Ron Goldman's family sues O.J. in civil court, and this time, everything changes. No cameras, no slogans, just numbers. $33.5 million, awarded in damages for 2 lives lost without a single criminal conviction. The court finds him civilly liable. But you know, money doesn't replace justice, and justice may never have shown up. O.J. spends the next years in a strange spotlight. He publishes a book with a title that taunts logic, If I Did It. Public outrage follows. The publisher cancels, but a leaked copy circulates. In it, O.J. offers a hypothetical account of that night, inventing a character named Charlie, an Aussie accomplice, who supposedly witnessed everything. You read it, and you don't know if you're reading a confession or the darkest PR stunt ever printed. Later, you see O.J. back on the news, this time for armed robbery in Las Vegas. He's sentenced to 33 years in prison, the same number as the civil damages. A bizarre coincidence. He's released in 2017, older, slower, but his face, wrinkled and tired, still carries the ghost of that trial. And you're still there, in your quiet room, the bedside lamp casting long shadows on your sleeve. A part of you still doesn't understand. How could a case that seemed so clear become the biggest question no one ever answered? You remember 3 phrases from this entire journey. 1. The glove didn't fit. 2. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. 3. Justice isn't truth. It's what the jury believes. Investigators still disagree whether O.J. truly committed the murders or whether he walked out of a broken system shaped by race, fame, and fear. Was justice fooled by a catchphrase or by the fractures that run through the soul of American society? You may never know. Maybe no one will. But you do know this. This case changed how the world sees the law, not through statutes and evidence, but through emotion, through skin color, through belief or mistrust in the truth. And now, as the story fades, you lie back. The light softens like the edges of an old photograph. Your eyes close, but in the dark, something refuses to sleep. Maybe it's the glove. Maybe it's the white Bronco humming down the highway. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the name. O.J. Simpson.